All right, this is Keith from Love Living Local 315. I'm here with I consider a local legend, Coach Curtis Schmidt. Coach, how you doing?
Good. Things are
White
good.
Whitesboro High School varsity coach, also phys ed teacher. But this guy to me is a local legend. You grew up in this district, you played in this district, and now you're coaching in this district. How's that feel?
Feels great. It was always a dream of mine to come back here and coach. I probably had some other opportunities when I was younger, but I knew from an early age, probably around 11th grade, that my dream was to come back here and be a teacher and coach, and I'm living it right now and loving it.
So when you talk about Whitesboro, when I think about Whitesboro, I think of it like a powerhouse district, especially in football. And I think about Coach Shane, Tom Shane, who was here decades. He kind of set the standard, built a brand. How does it feel to kind of step into his legacy, but kind of make it your own?
So when I first got the job, it was an honor and a privilege to take over a program, like Whitesboro at this caliber. And Tom, Jack, and Joe, the three coaches that were here for 40 plus years, had a lot to do with that. I think when we grew up and we were playing here, it was different than other schools. It was special. The culture was great. They are a big reason that I wanted to come back here, and it feels great. And the traditions that were in place, it's not my job to change that foundation. They did a
Exactly.
great job with that. If anything, we're going to evolve with times
For
and put
sure.
our mark on it, but the foundation is there, and it'll never change.
I think he probably built a standard and a brand that you guys kind of uphold now, but there's got to be some things that you kind of throw into the mix to kind of make it elevated even more.
Yeah. I think as the years go on, society changes. You got to change with times, or you're not going to be successful.
Absolutely.
Like it was back in the day when we played, it's totally different now. As far as the X's and O's, you always have to evolve. Coaches get better, schemes get better, so you're constantly working on that aspect. But even with the traditions, we have all the old traditions that Coach Shane and his staff established here, and those will never change. But we have evolved, and we've gotten more involved with the youth programs. We have a youth night. We have the youth football teams come down and run on Thursday
That's
nights,
incredible.
and those are some of the newer traditions that we have. Just trying to get people involved because football is kind of dying in other areas, and it's our jobs as coaches not just to win football games, but to make sure that people are interested and want to be a part of this great program.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that too, even at your youth programs, you guys are teaching the same principles that you're teaching at the varsity level. And that's obviously intentional to your leadership. Is that
Yeah,
something that you planned on doing?
Yeah, when we took over and we saw numbers dying down in other programs in the area, we said we don't want that to happen here. And we felt the best way to do that was to get involved in the youth level, get great
It's
coaches
important,
involved.
very
We have a lot
important.
of alumni coaching and family coaching at the youth level. And we felt that was the best way to keep the numbers up, keep the interest alive, and not only get the young kids involved, but to get the parents involved. And I think that's the one way we're going to try and close the gap years. In high school football,
Absolutely.
you can't recruit. You know what I mean? So you kind of dance with your date.
For
Whoever shows
sure.
up, that's your team. We felt like if we get these kids involved at a younger age and let them come run with the varsity team, there'll be a heightened interest, and we won't lose those numbers.
No, and that's important because you condition them early. Condition them about the brand, condition them about the name on the chest to mean something.
Hmm.
I think that's important. I think more districts should take your lead off of that because that's where it starts at the youth level
Yeah,
more than ever.
100%. I think if you want to be successful in anything, you have to be all in. We're not working from August to November and calling it quits. It's a 12-month operation here between the weight room, what we do in the off season. I have a meeting next week with the Boosters Club. So, it's not about just getting the players to be all in. It's about getting the parents all in, the Boosters Club administration, the community. If you want to be great, everyone's got to be on the same page, and they got to understand what the standard is and there's sacrifice that comes with that. And I think we have a large amount of people that have bought into what we're preaching here.
The collective effort. I like the way you put that. So when you talk about this standard, you mentioned the standard, and the name on your chest meaning something. What do you tell student athletes that want to play for you? Like what that means to wear that name on your jersey.
We tell them it's a privilege, but it's also a responsibility. And if they can't live up to the standards, if they can't buy into the important values and characteristics we expect out of them, then they won't wear the jersey. So it's not easy. It takes a lot of sacrifice. We're very demanding in this program.
Absolutely.
It calls for a lot of work before practice, after practice. They got to give up summer vacations because we're going in the summer.
Yeah,
During the season, there are no vacations, and we hold them accountable. And I like to think they become very good football players, but when they leave here, they're going to have values and learn important life skills that's going to carry them on to their profession one day, or being a dad one day. And I think that's the most important part of this whole thing is yeah, we want to win football games, but we want to do things the right way. And we don't allow a kid to be late to school. If they're a minute late, they don't
exactly.
practice. If they're a minute late to practice, they don't practice. There's high expectations, and the standard is what the standard is, and we're not going to change it for anyone. So they either live up to the standard, or they move on and try something else.
That's a great approach. I think every coach should kind of take that approach because it is bigger than the sport, and you want to build men and young women up, more than just the sport. It's about life,
For sure.
and I feel like you guys kind of do that.
And we'll go back to Coach Shane, Coach Nassif, and Coach Silvestri. That's what they taught us. We remember the games, but we remember the experience. We remember the
Absolutely.
lessons we were taught. The lessons that I was taught got me through college. That's why I wanted to come back here and kind of teach those same lessons and values and build on them. The game of football teaches you so much about life. It teaches you how to handle adversity, to win with grace and lose with grace, to show appreciation and gratitude to others that help you along the way. I like to think that the kids have a great experience on the field here, but they walk away with some valuable lessons that they can use in their future, whether it's in profession with their family or if they're a coach one day.
Bro, I love that. I love hearing that, man, because it's as a coach myself, I think you always want to preach, the real world's out there. Life is out there. It's bigger than the sport, and I think the kids that are receptive to that, they have the most success. And that's crucial, man. I'm glad that you guys have that mindset. I do want to ask one question though, in terms of not just coaching the community kids, but now you got sons coming up in the system,
Yep.
sons in the program. How's that like dynamic trying to juggle both? Being a dad, being a
Yeah.
coach. How tough is that?
It's real tough, and I think it's tough on myself and my boys. My boys are growing up, and they're learning about mental toughness and having thick skin. They understand that dad's going to be a little bit harder on them. That
Absolutely.
they're going to be held to the same standard as everyone else, and it's not going to be easier just because their last name's the same. It's actually going to be harder. You got to have a good balance. I've gotten better as I've gotten older, as far as kind of leaving the game at the game, and on the car rides home, and at home I'm being a dad, but there's no getting around it. They're going to be around it a lot more than the other kids. The nice thing about coaching is if you have a bad game or a bad practice, after 2.5 hours you can go home and kind of break yourself away
Absolutely.
from the team.
Decompress.
My boys aren't going to get that luxury, but I'm going to have to do a good job of understanding I'm a dad first, and
Sure.
but it's not easy. And I'm sure if you interview one of my boys, they'd tell you that I'm the hardest on them. But that's the way it's always going to be. That's how my father was with me, and it's part of the
No, yeah,
job, I guess.
100%, 100%. Listen, they want to come up in the system. They want to do what you do. Then they gotta rise to that
Yep.
standard and expectation. So I think that's important that you're helping the upbringing of not just the community kids, but your own kids.
Sure.
That's crucial. Let's talk a little bit about that. The guys that you have around the program are guys that you trust, guys that have also come up through the program. Talk a little bit about the guys that you have on your staff and why you have them on your staff.
It's always been that way here at Whitesboro as far as having alumni coaching. Like at every level, there's coaches that have played in this program, so they understand what the standard is. They know the importance of the traditions here, and
Absolutely.
it means a lot to them. We've been fortunate to have great coaches. Our modified coach, Todd Scott, has since retired, but he's been here for 30 plus years.
Oh, wow.
He coached me, and now he's coaching my boys, so that's special. When you have that consistency within your program, it makes it easier as the head guy to know that you trust people down there, that they're doing it the right way, but they understand your vision because at one point in time they lived it. They were part of the
Yeah.
culture, and they understand what it takes, and what we're doing here. And same with the JV staff, full of Whitesboro guys. We had a turnover here recently for the first time in a long time, but we got great guys involved, and I think it's really important that you have a great staff from the youth level all the way up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's paramount even. You want the same people echoing your message, all the way up, like you said, from the Pop Warner level all the way up to the varsity level. You don't want the message to get misconstrued along the lines. You want it to be the same.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like when they get up to us, we don't want to be reteaching. We want to just be building, and that's where the
Exactly.
consistency of the coaching staff and everyone being on the same page. We talk about culture here, and it's not just about the varsity program. And I talk about it's getting a lot of people, many different groups on the same page with the same vision and the same expectations. And I think that's what we have here at Whitesboro, and that kind of sets us apart from other programs.
Bro, you're doing it, man. You guys have had a lot of success. Obviously, every team takes their lumps, but you guys have had a lot of success. And I think it goes back to your principles and your teachings and the way you came up, and what you're implementing into this program. It's vital, man. And I see it from afar, and I'm rooting for you guys.
I appreciate it.
It's amazing. I want to see this weight room, though. Let's check out the weight room.
Talk a little bit about the weight program you guys do and what you guys do in the off season to kind of get your guys ready.
Yeah, so we start every year in January with an orientation, making sure all the kids know the lifts we expect them to do, introduce the program to them, and then we really concentrate on the younger kids, the freshmen and sophomores, because our weight room it's a nice weight room, but it's not that big. So the younger kids who can't drive and go to a local weight room, we work with them, and then we test our varsity team once a month, 3 days on all 3 different lifts, build a nice team atmosphere here, and then when it starts getting nicer out in the spring, we'll start doing installs. And then come late June, we're going all the time, getting ready for our 7-on-7s, installing our offense and defense. So it gets to be a pretty good atmosphere in here, especially when we bring the varsity in and we start testing. We give out gift cards, local establishments will donate gift cards so they have an incentive if they get lifter of the month or
I like
do a
that.
good job.
I like
so
that.
yeah, it becomes a pretty good atmosphere, but it's how it's always been at Whitesboro. It's like your grandfathered into lifting. Like you just do it.
Sure,
We don't really got to push them. They understand. If they want to win football games, they got to get stronger and faster.
Absolutely. That's part of the game. Coach, listen, you guys got a great program, man. I love everything you guys are doing here. And what you're building up is bigger than football. It's bigger than sports. And you're making a real impact. And that means something. So keep doing what you're doing, Coach.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate you, man.
Yep.